So what would it actually take for the US to launch a full-scale campaign for regime change in Venezuela? Today, we're going to deconstruct a fascinating hypothetical strategy called the Dondro Doctrine, a bold new foreign policy that could seriously redefine America's role in the world.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the military strike that kicks this whole thing off. Then, we'll unpack the three real reasons behind it: a brand new doctrine, a fierce rivalry with China and Russia, and of course, a massive scramble for oil. Finally, we'll ask the big question: what does this all mean for the future?
All right, let's set the scene. Imagine it's early 2025. The already fraught relationship between the US and Venezuela suddenly just hits a breaking point. And in just a few short months, we go from tense rhetoric to direct, full-blown military action.
Now, just look at this timeline. The speed is incredible. It all starts in early 2025 with the pretext of a war on drugs. By the middle of the year, you got a full naval blockade. By late 2025, the CIA is running ops on the ground. And then, boom, January 2026, the airstrikes begin. This isn't a slow burn, it's a calculated, lightning-fast campaign designed to topple a government. And this really gets us to the absolute core of this whole scenario. Washington hasn't offered any real proof for its claims, and let's be clear, Venezuela is not a direct security threat to the United States. So what is really driving this aggression? Well, the answer seems to be a powerful mix of doctrine, geopolitics, and economics. The first big piece of the puzzle is ideological. It's all based on a very assertive new foreign policy, one that actually has deep roots in American history.
To get what's happening in our scenario, you have to rewind the clock. Way back in 1823, the original Monroe Doctrine basically drew a line in the sand and told European powers, the Americas are our sphere of influence, stay out. For 200 years, this was the bedrock of U.S. dominance in its own backyard.
And right here, you can see the evolution. This so-called Dondro Doctrine is basically the Monroe Doctrine on steroids for the 21st century. The target isn't old European empires anymore, it's today's global rivals, with China as public enemy number one. And the goal isn't just to maintain influence, it's to aggressively reimpose it and force the competition out.
And that leads us directly to the second pillar of this strategy: pure, old-fashioned great power competition. See, this intervention isn't just about Venezuela itself, it's about making a statement and rolling back the growing influence of both China and Russia in Latin America. And this really shows you why the US sees China as such a challenge in its own hemisphere. We're not talking about a minor player here. Beijing is deeply integrated through its massive Belt and Road Initiative, it's a top trading partner for most countries, and, most importantly for this story, it is the biggest foreign power in Venezuela's oil industry.
So here's the bottom line. The strike on Venezuela is really a powerful, unmistakable warning shot. It's sending a message to every other nation in Latin America. If you get too cozy with Beijing or Moscow, you could be next. It's a textbook example of using one conflict to project power across an entire region.
And finally, we come to the third, and let's be honest, maybe the most tangible motivation of all: the absolutely immense prize of Venezuelan oil. You just can't understand this hypothetical conflict without talking about the resources at stake.
Just let that number sink in. 300 billion barrels. That is one of the largest proven oil reserves on the entire planet, about 17% of the world's total supply. To put that in perspective, that's nearly 4 times the total reserves of the United States. This isn't just some bonus prize. It's a resource that could fundamentally alter the global energy landscape.
You know, it's not very often that the motivation is stated so bluntly. This quote from 2023 leaves absolutely no doubt. The goal to get all that oil has been an open and consistent theme, directly connecting U.S. intervention with seizing Venezuela's most valuable asset.
And to complete the picture, the U.S.-backed opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, has explicitly promised to do exactly what Washington would want: throw open the doors of Venezuela's nationalized oil sector to foreign companies. The political goals and the economic interests line up perfectly.
Okay, so let's put all three of these powerful drivers together. When you combine this aggressive new doctrine, the urgent need to counter rivals, and the massive economic prize of oil, what kind of a grand strategy do you end up with?
Well, what you get is a really clear 3-step playbook. Step 1, you create the ideological cover with the Dondro Doctrine. Step 2, you use that cover to achieve a major geopolitical goal, pushing out your competitors.
And step 3, you seize the economic prize that helps justify the whole thing. It's a very cohesive strategy for reestablishing absolute American dominance.
And this brings us to our final, and maybe most important question. Is this Donroe Doctrine just a one-off playbook designed for Venezuela? Or are we actually looking at a new blueprint for American foreign policy, one designed for a multipolar world where U.S. power is no longer unchallenged? What do you think that means for the future?